Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel and welcome to all new viewers. My name is Olka and I'm a UK-based vet, and today I'd like to tell you about a vet's average day at work. At least based on my experience. Before I get to it, please don't forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell if you enjoy my content. I'm going to release a video every week. So, let's jump into answering the question asked: what does a vet do in a day? Okay, so during my career I've worked, volunteered or trained in 8 different veterinary practices in 3 different countries. All of these places were different, but also had a lot of things in common. I will focus here mainly on the UK-based practices. Differences in how vet practices function in different countries are quite significant. I might talk about it in a different video. Okay, so new day, you think? Today is going to be a good day. You wake up, get ready, eat your breakfast, and cross your fingers and hope for the best before you leave home. As I mentioned in my first video, an average vet will work a full day shift, which normally starts between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. When you first rock up at work as a vet, you might have to do the usual prep to start your day, like greet your colleagues, change your clothes to those scrubs and Crocs, turn on the computer, and prepare your working area for the day. You might want to have a look at the rota and your appointment schedule for the day. And take a deep breath. Is it Max coming back today, which you hoped would get better? Is it Luna's complicated case? Before the consults even start, you might have to turn your medical brain on and start thinking what the next steps should be. Depending on whether a practice has an overnight patient care, vets might have to do rounds first thing in the morning, discussing every patient that is currently present in the hospital. Just like human doctors do. Then, make appropriate plans for them for the rest of the day. Some veterinary health centers have more than one branch, and if that's the case, sometimes you need to travel first to the main one and take practice's van or a car to the smaller branch you will be working in that day, especially if you provide house visits. Next thing would normally be admissions for operations. Owners bring their pets early in the morning, ready to be admitted and kept in the hospital for some part of the day. Sometimes admits are done by vets, sometimes by vet nurses. You need to ask the owner several questions, usually examine and weigh the patient and make sure you and the owner are in full understanding on what's going to happen with their pet. Veterinary practices normally operate using blocks of consultations and operations, meaning that certain vets will be operating in the theater during certain hours and some will be conducting consultations and examinations. So, in layman's terms, some vets will be your surgeons and some your first opinion GPs. They will swap in their roles depending on the day. From my experience, most places have several hours designated for operations in the morning, and then the vets who finish their ops join their colleagues to help them with consults. Consultations are normally booked in time slots lasting between 10 and 15 minutes. A vet's day is normally very intense, because normally you won't have many open slots available, and you have to work consults back to back and work fast to make sure patients and their owners aren't waiting. This task isn't easy though, for a variety of reasons. In between consultations, you have to find time to analyze your more difficult cases, plan your approach, sometimes reach out for a book or get a second opinion from a more experienced colleague. If the case isn't that straightforward, you might need to perform additional tests, maybe take a blood sample, do an ultrasound examination, or even operate, depending on what's wrong with a pet. If you're very lucky, you'll manage with the time given for that consult, but it could easily take a couple of hours too. In my opinion, there are only a few types of consultations which truly take 10 to 15 minutes without being pressured for time. A few examples would be a routine vaccination appointment where the owner doesn't have any additional concerns, rechecks of certain straightforward conditions, or routine post-operation checks. Typically, these pre-booked ops and consults are the only things that are actually planned in your day schedule, and the rest of the things you need to do, you just need to squeeze in when you can, which, unfortunately, doesn't depend on the vets, but on the other people planning our schedules and days layouts. So, these ops and consults are basically the bread and butter of a vet's average day. But is there more? Why, yes there is. It's always possible that you will get an unexpected walk-in, urgent case or an emergency rushing through the door. Usually, you have to squeeze them in between your pre-booked consults or ops as well, which unfortunately means that either you will have less time for your actual pre-booked appointments or no lunchtime that day, which, believe me, happens fairly often. I'd say on more days than not, you will have these unplanned patients rocking up at the practice. Sometimes it can be a pretty straightforward case, but often it will be a patient requiring an operation like a cesarean section, pyometra operation, or a collapsed patient requiring a lot of attention and workup, etc., which can take a couple of hours to deal with. I guess the above things pet owners think we have to deal with on a daily basis, and it's what our jobs are all about. At least this is how I imagine it. However, there are also, let's say, side tasks which you need to take care of every day. An example would be spending a lot of time on the phone, but not in a fun way, on Facebook or Instagram. You have to report lab results or follow up with certain cases, making sure your patients are doing okay. Sometimes owners have some additional questions and don't want to bring their pet down to the practice. They need to be run back, usually by vets or vet nurses, if a receptionist doesn't know the answer to a particular question. Commonly asked questions would be: my dog won't take this tablet, what do I do? How much do you charge for a dental? My dog is acting weird, what should I do? Etc. These phone calls eat up a big portion of your day. Then you've got your clinical notes and patient history. That means you have to write down owner's concerns, your findings after examining the pet, potential plan and charge for services and the medications given. Some vets do their consults notes immediately after a patient leaves their consult room. Some leave it till the end of the day or the next break they get. This surprisingly takes a lot of time. In practices which have overnight care and a hospital, vets will also have their so-called inpatients, which they need to take care of too. One of the responsibilities which can take up a lot of time is sorting out prescriptions. If an owner rings up wanting more medications for their pet, your vet or a vet nurse, depending on the practice's protocols, looks for, counts and labels that particular medication. However, it always has to be a vet to check and sign them off. You also need to fill various documents, referrals, letters, written prescriptions, etc. Some more experienced vets, often called senior vets, are asked to help their younger colleagues, sometimes just by guiding them with their years of experience and vast knowledge, and sometimes showing them how to do something manually, like help with operations, scans, handling of various equipment, etc. On occasion, you can expect to have to do some mandatory training, which often takes place during lunch hours. Sometimes you need to help with basic housekeeping, like ordering or counting meds, cleaning, etc. And finally, in the meantime, it would be nice if you could find a second to grab something to eat and go to the toilet. Sometimes it can be a challenge to find time for it. So, you can usually start preparing to go home at about 7 o'clock. If you're unlucky, that might be even a couple of hours later. When you get home, all you want is a nice meal, some TV and a glass of wine. That's me at least. You need to regenerate before the next day, right? Like in any profession, you will have better and worse days. Some might be busier than others. Overall, vets can't be lazy during their shift, even if they tried really hard. It is a high-intensity day, full of unknowns. Certainly, not one day is the same in a vet practice environment. And lastly, thank you for watching. I hope you liked my video. Please like, subscribe, and I hope I'll see you here again soon. Bye!